You buy the corner, install a tall, illuminated price sign, and watch cars arrive every few minutes. By lunch, thousands of dollars may have crossed the pumps. It looks like oil money at retail scale. But most of the money displayed on that sign never becomes yours. Fuel creates 65% of sales and nearly 39% of gross profit. In 2025, motor fuel represented 65% of all sales dollars at American convenience stores. It produced 38.8% of the industry's gross profit dollars. Fuel was still a major earnings engine, but its share of gross profit was far smaller than its share of revenue. That is the first paradox of the business. A customer can spend more than $30 at the pump and make your revenue look enormous. At a food-forward operator such as Casey's, the same customer can walk inside, spend $6 on prepared food, and the smaller transaction can generate a similar amount of gross contribution. Gasoline matters. Large operators reported meaningful contribution per gallon in their latest filings. But contribution per gallon is not owner profit. The station still pays card fees, payroll, electricity, maintenance, insurance, taxes, debt, and the cost of monitoring tens of thousands of gallons stored underground. By the end of this video, you will know why two stations selling the same gasoline can produce completely different returns, why a compact fuel kiosk and a pizza-focused convenience store are almost opposite businesses, how rising gasoline prices can make revenue look better without improving profit, and why the most dangerous asset may be buried beneath the parking lot. Because you are not buying only a place that sells gasoline, you are buying traffic, a retail basket, a supply chain, and a piece of land carrying a regulated environmental obligation. The customer sees the number on the sign. You need to see everything underneath it. Before you buy a station, decide which station you mean. The first version is the Fuel First kiosk. A small store beneath a large canopy, limited merchandise, competitive pricing, rapid vehicle flow, and very little labor. Murphy, USA is the clearest public example. Many replacement stores are around 1,400 square feet, while newer Murphy-branded locations are commonly 2,800 square feet or larger. Many need only one or two associates present during business hours. The goal is not to keep customers browsing. It is to move a huge number of gallons through a low-cost box. The second version is the conventional neighborhood convenience store. It still depends on fuel traffic, but needs a meaningful percentage of drivers to enter, buy drinks, snacks, grocery items, tobacco products, or basic hot food, and leave with a basket carrying a better percentage margin than gasoline. The third version is the Food First destination. Now the kitchen, coffee program, restroom, app, loyalty system, car wash, and exact placement of every cooler matter. Casey's represents this model. It operates nearly 3,000 stores, many in smaller communities, and has spent decades turning pizza, bakery products, sandwiches, and dispensed beverages into reasons to visit even when the customer does not need fuel. A fuel kiosk, a neighborhood store, and a food destination are three different businesses. All three formats can display gas on the roadside sign. Financially, they are different businesses. The kiosk wins through price, throughput, and low operating cost. The neighborhood store converts a routine stop into an inside purchase. The Food First location becomes a restaurant and local retail destination that happens to own pumps. Scale changes the job again. A single owner buys fuel, merchandise, insurance, repairs, processing, and software with the leverage of one address. A chain can negotiate across hundreds of sites, centralize buying, operate distribution assets, use loyalty data, and spread environmental risk across a portfolio. So when somebody claims that a gas station costs a certain amount or earns a certain margin, ask one question first. Which station? Once you choose the format, you need the site. This is not ordinary retail real estate. A station needs drivers who can see the sign, slow down safely, enter without crossing an impossible lane of traffic, reach an open dispenser, and leave in the direction they were already traveling. A busy road can be a bad location if the median blocks the turn. A corner can fail if the driveway is too close to the intersection. A large parcel can fail if a tanker cannot enter, unload, and leave without blocking customers. You are buying traffic flow, not just traffic count. Then comes the machine the customer never sees. Fuel is delivered by tanker, transferred through fill pipes, stored underground, monitored for leaks, moved through piping, measured, filtered, and dispensed through equipment exposed to weather and constant use. Casey's says a typical new store includes 4 to 6 fuel dispenser islands and storage capacity of roughly 44,000 to 70,000 gallons. Above ground, the site still needs the canopy, dispensers, signs, lighting, bollards, point-of-sale system, cameras, refrigeration, restrooms, shelving, food equipment, drainage, and parking. The inventory behaves differently on each side of the door. Murphy says its high-volume retail fuel inventory turns approximately once daily. Packaged merchandise can sit for weeks. Prepared food can become waste within hours. Then you choose a supply model. A branded station gains recognition, fuel card acceptance, advertising, and an established supply relationship, but may accept rules involving sourcing, image standards, promotions, and technology. An independent station gains flexibility, but must convince the driver that the fuel is trustworthy, the card reader is safe, and the unknown store is worth choosing over a national brand across the road. Buying an existing station does not remove these questions. It adds old tanks, old piping, old permits, old contracts, old maintenance decisions, and possibly contamination created before the current seller owned the property. The building is only the visible part of the acquisition. The real purchase includes access, throughput, supply, equipment history, soil history, and the reputation attached to that exact corner. You are not buying square footage. You are buying the right to interrupt a driver's trip and monetize the stop. Now we reach the most misunderstood number: margin per gallon. The common claim that a station keeps only a few cents from every gallon can describe one market or one moment, but it is not a reliable measure of modern gross fuel economics. Murphy USA reported a retail fuel margin of 28.1 cents per gallon in 2025, defined as retail selling price less purchased fuel cost. Casey's reported average retail fuel revenue less cost of goods sold of 42.57 cents per gallon for the fiscal year ending April 2026. Those are company-specific measures with a similar purpose, but they are not perfectly identical accounting metrics. Casey's also said its fiscal 2026 result was historically above average, and that the number can fluctuate significantly and unpredictably. The figures differ because the companies operate different formats, markets, supply systems, and pricing strategies. Neither is a promise for your station. More importantly, neither is net profit. Fuel gross contribution is the selling price minus purchased fuel cost under the company's stated metric. It is the amount available before most of the property's bills are paid. Suppose you sell 1 million gallons at 30 cents of gross contribution. That creates $300,000. Now pay employees, illuminate the forecourt, process every card, maintain dispensers, monitor tanks, insure the site, and pay rent or debt on the land. The $300,000 can disappear quickly. The wholesale price also moves constantly. Raise the street price too slowly, and replacement inventory can squeeze the spread. Raise it too quickly, and drivers cross the road. A difference of a few cents can shift traffic even when the customer saves less on the entire fill-up than they later spend on one drink. Payment fees make the illusion worse. Many card processing charges include a percentage of the transaction value. When gasoline becomes more expensive, the fee can rise even if the station's cents per gallon contribution does not. In 2025, credit and debit card fees across the U.S. convenience industry reached a record $21.3 billion. So, the station can report higher revenue because fuel became more expensive while producing no matching improvement in economic profit. The customer thinks the owner is getting rich. The payment network still gets paid. Revenue is the number on the receipt. Fuel contribution is the spread between retail and supply. Owner profit is what remains after the entire corner is paid for. Confuse those three numbers and almost any station will look better than it is. Fuel can create real earnings. But if the property cannot convert enough of that traffic into additional contribution, the enormous sales number may still support a weak business. The pumps create the volume. 30 cents per gallon is gross contribution. It is not what the owner takes home. The door can make each stop more valuable. In 2025, food service represented 28.5% of in-store sales at U.S. convenience stores, but 38.9% of in-store gross profit dollars. Casey's makes the contrast even clearer. Across its last 3 fiscal years, prepared food, dispensed beverages, grocery, and general merchandise produced about 36% of total revenue, but approximately 63% of revenue less cost of goods sold. Prepared food and dispensed beverages alone averaged about a 58% gross contribution rate before operating expenses and depreciation. Now, compare 2 simplified transactions using Casey's food-forward economics. A driver buys 10 gallons of fuel. At 30 cents of gross contribution per gallon, the station creates $3. The driver also spends $6 on prepared food. At Casey's approximately 58% 3-year prepared food and dispensed beverage contribution rate, that creates about $3.48. 10 gallons outside, 1 meal inside. Similar gross contribution in this illustration. That does not mean every independent station earns Casey's food margin. It shows why a strong food program can change the value of the same customer visit. That is why operators obsess over conversion. How many fuel customers enter? How long is the line? Is the coffee fresh during the morning rush? Is the restroom clean enough that a family chooses the same exit again? Can a customer order food in the app and collect it while fueling? The store layout follows the economics. Drinks, coffee, food, and checkout are arranged to turn a necessary stop into an additional purchase. On a highway site, even the restroom can function as customer acquisition. Food service also adds difficulty. It requires labor, training, equipment, waste control, and food safety discipline. A packaged snack can wait on a shelf. A breakfast sandwich that does not sell becomes an expense. But differentiation is difficult at the pump. Compliant regular gasoline is hard for a customer to distinguish from the product across the road. A specific coffee, pizza, sandwich, car wash, clean restroom, or fast checkout can create a habit. The fuel price may win the first visit. The inside experience can win the repeat visit. This business is not only selling gasoline with snacks attached, it is selling recurring roadside convenience. Fuel creates traffic and a meaningful share of gross profit. The store can deepen the economics of the same stop. Murphy USA and Casey's show that there is no single winning model. Murphy ended 2025 with 1,800 stores. Its average location sold about 235,800 gallons per month, roughly 2.8 million gallons per year. Retail fuel margin averaged 28.1 cents per gallon, while merchandise margin averaged 20.2%. At a food-forward operator, 10 gallons and 1 meal can create similar gross contribution. The company wins through low fuel prices, high throughput, compact stores, efficient staffing, strong locations, and a supply operation capable of sourcing from many providers. Now look at Casey's. Its average mature store in fiscal 2026 sold about 1.217 million gallons, less than half Murphy's annualized per-store volume. But it generated approximately $2.199 million of inside sales, $896,000 of inside gross contribution, and $512,000 of fuel gross contribution. Average mature store operating income was about $566,000 after store attributable operating expenses and depreciation, but before interest, federal and state income taxes, and company overhead not assigned to the store. It is a store comparison metric, not the take-home income of an independent owner. Casey's operates a different machine. It has 3 distribution centers, a fuel terminal, a large food program, and a footprint concentrated in smaller communities where one store can function as a restaurant, grocery stop, coffee shop, and station. Murphy uses the store to support the fuel proposition. Casey's uses fuel to support a broader store relationship. Both approaches can work. The dangerous position is between them. Imagine a station that cannot match the low-price leader but offers no food worth entering for. It pays for a larger building, more inventory, and kitchen equipment without generating enough inside contribution. It carries the costs of differentiation without creating any differentiation. Every owner has to choose. Are you building the cheapest, reliable place to refuel, or the most useful place to stop? Traffic creates the opportunity. The operating model decides whether it becomes profit. Gross contribution is where the story becomes attractive. Operating expense is where it becomes real. Labor covers deliveries, cleaning, restocking, age-restricted sales, customer problems, and every hour the store remains open. A food-first location needs additional people to prepare food, manage temperature, clean equipment, and control waste. Card processing is another major cost. Fuel is a high-dollar, high-frequency card transaction, and the U.S. convenience industry paid $21.3 billion in card fees in 2025. Utilities run the canopy lights, refrigeration, freezers, ovens, ventilation, air conditioning, security, signs, dispensers, and sometimes a car wash. Many stores remain open long after traffic falls. Maintenance arrives one failure at a time: a cooler, a dispenser screen, a nozzle, a card reader, the price sign, the canopy, the pavement, or the restroom fixture that breaks at the location where online reviews matter most. Then comes shrink. Merchandise disappears through theft, damage, expiration, inaccurate counts, and food waste. The more sophisticated the inside offer becomes, the more ways inventory can become an expense before becoming a sale. Insurance follows the risk of moving vehicles, stored fuel, wet floors, hot equipment, employees, and customers. Property tax, rent, and debt service continue even when gallons fall. Industry direct store operating expenses rose 4.2% in 2025. Murphy reported higher employee and maintenance costs. The pattern is simple. The station may be labor light compared with a restaurant, but it is not cost light. You either become the cheapest, reliable stop or the most useful stop. This is why annual sales are almost useless by themselves. A station can report $5 or $6 million of revenue and generate modest owner income. Wholesale fuel cost, taxes, and card fees pass through a very large sales number. The remaining contribution must support a retail store, a real estate property, a regulated fuel system, and sometimes a restaurant. The sales number is impressive. The subtraction is the business. Now we reach the risk that cannot be judged from the parking lot. The Environmental Protection Agency currently says approximately 542,000 underground storage tanks nationwide hold petroleum or hazardous substances. In its March 2026 performance report, the agency recorded 583,313 cumulative confirmed releases since the federal program began. It reported 530,454 completed cleanups and 52,859 releases still waiting to be cleaned up. A leak does not need to create a visible puddle. Petroleum can move through soil and reach groundwater, which supplies drinking water for roughly half of the U.S. population. Federal rules require petroleum marketers to demonstrate at least $1 million of financial responsibility per occurrence for corrective action and third-party injury or property damage.
Owners with 100 or fewer tanks generally need at least $1 million in annual aggregate assurance. That is not a cap on the actual liability. It is a minimum assurance requirement. Murphy. USA's annual report explains that it may face strict, joint, and several environmental liability, including contamination connected to prior occupants. The company has identified contamination at certain current and former properties and continues investigation and remediation work. A large chain can spread that risk across specialized staff, insurance programs, monitoring systems, and 1,800 locations. You own one station. One site can become the whole portfolio. The Pascoag, Rhode Island case shows how far the consequences can travel. A leak traced to a closed gasoline station contaminated groundwater and disrupted drinking water supplies serving more than 4,000 people. The EPA later committed an additional $1 million to treatment work. The station closed. The contamination remained. That is why due diligence must include tank installation and testing records, leak detection history, old closure documents, spill reports, soil and groundwater assessments, insurance, state fund eligibility, and the exact contract language allocating environmental responsibility. Even good records do not make the risk zero. A station is one of the few everyday retail businesses where the product can escape the inventory system, enter the environment, and create a bill years after the sale was forgotten. The store earns money one transaction at a time. The ground can return the risk all at once. And this is where scale changes more than purchasing power. A contaminated site can overwhelm a single location owner, while a chain can spread the exposure across many properties, specialized staff, centralized systems, and a much larger balance sheet. The station can close, the contamination can remain. 63% of U.S. convenience stores are owned by companies with 10 or fewer locations. The road still looks independent. The advantage behind the road increasingly belongs to scale. Murphy buys fuel from numerous oil companies, refiners, and marketers. The company says its retail fuel inventory turns approximately once daily, and its product supply activities can create value beyond the retail gallon. A small owner experiences fuel mainly as a delivered wholesale price. A large operator can treat sourcing, logistics, blending, and wholesale activity as another economic layer. Casey's operates 3 distribution centers and a fuel terminal, self-distributing the majority of its store products and fuel. That system can reduce cost, improve availability, support private labels, and make acquired stores easier to integrate. Then comes customer data. Casey's ended fiscal 2026 with more than 10 million rewards members. A loyalty system can connect fuel, food, time of day, offers, and repeat behavior. It can reveal which discount creates an additional visit, which fuel customer also buys pizza, and which promotion merely gives money away to somebody who would have visited anyway. Scale also improves purchasing, maintenance contracts, environmental expertise, advertising, financing, and the ability to survive a local price war. An independent operator can still win through local knowledge, speed, and a superior corner. Convenience is physical. A competitor cannot download an easier left turn or instantly create another driveway beside a highway exit. But when a large format competitor arrives, it can attack several levers at once. Lower fuel price, better food, cleaner restrooms, larger rewards, more dispensers, and enough capital to accept lower early returns.
Every driver may need energy. That does not mean they need your address. The gallon is standardized. The system selling it is not. Scale can help an operator buy, move, and price today's gallon more efficiently. It cannot guarantee that drivers will need the same gallon 20 years from now.
What happens when more vehicles need less gasoline or none at all? The dramatic answer is that stations disappear. The useful answer is slower. In 2025, battery electric vehicles represented about 7.5% of new U.S. light-duty sales, while plug-in hybrids represented about 1.6%. Those shares matter, but new sales are only a small part of the full vehicle fleet. Most vehicles on the road still consume liquid fuel, and the fleet changes over many years. The near-term risk is not that every pump becomes useless next Tuesday. It is that gasoline demand may weaken unevenly while land, tanks, and fixed operating costs remain. The transition will be local. A high EV interstate corridor may need charging earlier than a rural Midwestern market. Casey's reflects that difference. As of April 2026, it had 282 charging stations at 64 stores across 14 states, but described deployment as selective because demand across much of its footprint remained lower than on the coasts. Charging also changes the visit. A gasoline customer may stay 5 minutes. A fast charging customer may stay much longer, creating more time for food and retail. But chargers require utilization, reliable equipment, electricity pricing that works, and often utility upgrades, transformers, trenching, new parking geometry, and network agreements. The station also competes with home and workplace charging. The best interpretation is not that the convenience store loses its purpose. The product creating the stop may change. Fuel today, charging in selected markets tomorrow. The operator who sells a stop can adapt more easily than the operator who only sells a pump. Food, coffee, restrooms, car washes, and local convenience across both. The operator who thinks the business is the pump sees every alternative powertrain as a threat. The operator who thinks the business is the stop asks a better question. What keeps this roadside property useful for the next 30 years? The energy source may change. The customer still gets hungry. So after the traffic, the supply contract, the retail basket, the tanks, and the changing vehicle fleet, what can one station actually leave for its owner? Now, let us calculate ownership. These scenarios are illustrative, not industry averages. In both cases, total investment is $5 million, including property, equipment, inventory, transaction costs, and working capital. You invest $2 million and finance $3 million at an illustrative 8% for 20 years. Annual debt service is approximately $301,000. Scenario 1 is a strong, food-forward location. The station sells 1.2 million gallons at an average fuel gross contribution of 35 cents per gallon. Fuel gross contribution, $420,000. Inside sales reach $2 million at a blended 40% contribution rate. Inside gross contribution, $800,000. Car wash, commissions, fees, and other services add $80,000. Total gross contribution, $1.3 million. Subtract $710,000 for payroll, card fees, utilities, maintenance, insurance, shrink, software, cleaning, and local administration. Store cash operating income before debt and major capital work, $590,000. After $301,000 of debt service and a $60,000 capital reserve, approximately $229,000 remains before income tax, owner overhead, and unexpected environmental or legal costs. That is a good station. It also required $2 million of equity and an operation capable of running fuel, retail, and food correctly every day. Scenario 2 has the same investment, same debt, and same 1.2 million gallons.
A low-price competitor holds fuel contribution to 28 cents per gallon. Fuel gross contribution,
$336,000. Customers rarely enter. The food program is inconsistent, and the store produces $1.1 million of inside sales at a 28% contribution rate. Inside gross contribution, $308,000. Other services add $20,000. Total gross contribution, $664,000. Operating costs fall, but not with the margin. The store still needs staff, lighting, processing, insurance, maintenance, refrigeration, cleaning, and compliance. Operating costs, $620,000. Cash operating income before debt, $44,000. After debt service and a $50,000 reserve, owner cash flow is negative $307,000 before tax. The pumps are active. Millions still appear on the annual sales report. Customers may call the property busy, and the owner is writing checks to keep it alive. The two stations sold the same gallons. The difference was cents per gallon, inside conversion, inside margin, and a cost base that continued regardless. Fuel volume can make the property look successful. The basket and the cost structure decide whether the owner is successful. The good version of this business is powerful. Demand repeats. Customers pay immediately. A strong corner can create durable traffic. Fuel, food, beverages, car washes, and services give the owner several ways to earn from the same visit. But predictable demand for gasoline does not guarantee profit for your address. The street price is mostly somebody else's money moving through the register. Fuel margin is gross contribution, not take-home income. The store offers better percentage economics, but food and retail add labor, waste, and complexity. The real estate can appreciate, while the tanks beneath it create a liability larger than the store above it. Before buying one, do not begin with annual revenue. Ask how many gallons it sells and what contribution it captures per gallon. Ask how many fuel customers enter, what they buy, and what labor is required to sell it. Ask who controls the supply agreement and what happens when a competitor cuts the roadside sign by 5 cents. Ask how old the tanks are, what was buried there before them, and who pays if contamination appears after closing. And ask whether the property remains useful as the vehicle fleet changes, because the modern gas station is more than a gasoline business. It is a fuel operation, a roadside retail business, and a regulated property occupying the same corner. The pump creates the volume. The store deepens the margin. The ground holds the risk.